Hello, my noble band of outlaws. Outlaw Samurai coming at you live with a video with my best friend.
What's up, everybody? It's Geekopedia here, the president of all geek culture.
I have a massive bag of M80s and other various fireworks under my bed. LOL.
You got fireworks under your bed. That could either go one of two ways.
Either fun or fucked.
I'm leaning towards the second option.
Fucked?
Yes, but not in the way you're thinking.
He knows that I have a gutter mind, but aside the point, if y'all wondering why I keep looking over here instead of directly forward most of the time, it's because I'm trying a new setup where the laptop is over there and I'm actually using a real web camera. So it's nothing against y'all. It's just I'm hardwired to look at the laptop.
Mm-hmm.
But the purpose of this live stream is something that Tone One, who's watching at this moment, brought to my attention, and something that Gargoyle Blaze has also made a video of late. An introduction video to buying swords to use in cutting or backyard practice in general. Now, I have a large variety of swords next to me at this current time, as we can pan over and see. 12. What was that, Geekopedia?
That's only a small fraction of your sword collection.
I mean, he's not lying. I once brought over a bag of swords to his house before. Remember when I brought that huge-ass golf bag?
Yeah.
I still have that golf bag for when I have to bring multiple swords. But let us begin at the bottom tier of the list, the humble $50 Amazon katana.
Okay.
Now this one has seen better days, obviously, because this was actually my first ever sword.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So how long have you had it?
I've had this one since around 2020, 2019.
Okay.
So about 4 to 5 years I've had this sword. Hello, Katana Santa Claus. Ho, ho, ho. Now give me beer and steak or I'll stab you. Now, as we can see here, the Kashra has only recently come loose. Up until a few months ago, this was still rock solid, which is the little cap here. LOL. Now, the Ito wrap, trying to do this, the Ito wrap is actually fairly tight and fairly still functional. That looks pretty good condition for a $50 sword. Well, it's mostly partially due to the fact that I actually do take care of my swords very well. Now, the Samegawa is fake, but this particular type of sword is made for beginners just getting into backyard cutting who don't necessarily have a huge budget, but can still get a properly made sword to do the cutting with. As we move on to the blade, now this did come with a fake hamon at one point. I have completely stripped the fake hamon off of this, which is the fake temper line. It's a pretty much standard 1045 blade with a fuller, or bohi as it's properly called. Pay no attention to the massive amounts of dings in the back of the Mune. That was from me doing something really stupid with this sword and another one of my swords, where I basically took this sword and tried to split a 2x4 in half by bashing the blunt side of the other sword down on it like a hammer. But that just shows you how much abuse this sword has gone through and the fact that it's still functional. If you will excuse me for one moment.
Well, everybody, just you and me. How's it been going? Oh, good. I didn't know what to do there.
Wikipedia having social anxiety. It's not the sharpest anymore, but it does still actually cut. The name of this sword, Wikipedia, it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, too.
The name of this sword is the Ace Martial Arts Crane Katana. And it has served me well for many a cuts. Now, caveat for 1045 swords, they require a lot of sharpening. They do dull relatively quickly, and that's because they are a lower carbon steel. The saya is a pretty much basic black painted wooden tube, no real accoutrements to speak of. This is to keep it from completely splitting in half because of the amount of pure stupid shit I've done with this sword. This serves as a fushira, basically a koiguchi fitting. It still has relatively nice retention, but it will pop out with any kind of force. Overall, I cannot really say that the 1045 sword from Amazon for $50 relatively is a bad blade. Would you say it's a bad sword with how much abuse I've put into it, Geekopedia?
Not really. In fact, even with all the abuse you put it through, I'd say it's actually in really good shape at this point.
It's not in pristine condition anymore, but it is still very functional. The only thing that I would have to do is basically resharpen it.
Mm-hmm. Sorry for the Elvis cameo, everybody.
Yeah, that's his dog, Elvis, and I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yeah, please. Please.
Like, I torture him enough with jokes. But in any case, this is a step up from the 1045 sword. And yes, I know before anyone says anything, this is a quote-unquote ninjato, not historical, but still, I wanted a ninja sword at one point. And this was cheap. Yeah, that's honestly not bad at all, especially for the price. And sweet doggo. Oh yeah, that doggo really sweet. Wikipedia knows. He knows the dark truth. But yes, as we can see here, the only real thing I have to say against this is the just massive thickness. Oop. Device is not connected.
I'm here. Sorry. I left because I was moving Elvis.
So, the only thing I have to say is that I'm not a fan of this handle. It's what most people would call an axe handle shape. I'm not really a fan of it. Mm-hmm. But the blade is nice with its Hellfire Damascus pattern. And then we have a dragon on the rectangular suba. All in all, I haven't actually cut much with this sword, to be honest.
Yeah.
However, still reasonably sharp. The Shinwa is kind of a mixed bag when it comes to their swords. You either get a very decent blade for the money you spend, or you get a slightly functional wall hanger. But it's not that bad. It's a very light sword, very nimble. It's just that the grip, because of how bulbous it is, it doesn't feel good in my hand, personally speaking. But if you want a functional ninja sword that won't break your bank, especially if you are a fan of ninjas or anime in general, then you really can't go wrong with this type of blade. Still razor sharp. Right? And this actually has a very unique thing where the saya is teardropped. Not a lot of cheap swords in this price category have that, but I think the only reason is because it doesn't have a curve in it, or at least to me it has a curve, but it has an inverse curve where it curves down instead of curving up.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, they have to put that teardrop shape in it so that you kind of feel when you pick it up where the edge is.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I haven't cut with it a lot simply because I don't want to scratch up the pattern, but overall, it's not that bad a blade, and for the money you spend, you can very well, if you were to take a notion, just sharpen the edge up a bit, and you'd have a functional cutting sword that is still sub $100 before like shipping and taxes and such. Anything you'd like to add about the Hellfire Shinwa Geekopedia?
Nope, nothing here.
Geekopedia is not as knowledgeable about swords as I am, but I at least thought you would have added like some sort of like Naruto reference or something.
Yeah.
Because that man's a rolling encyclopedia of Naruto.
I'm usually more like Dragon Ball these days
That
anymore.
110. I do believe that the Shinwa is 1045 as well. Most of your sub $100 swords will be 1045 simply because of its ability to be quickly shaped and molded. I very much doubt it's properly heat treated at all, but for a soft steel that will bend like a pretzel before the structure of the steel even considers snapping, it's a good blade.
Mm-hmm.
Now we move on to Enma.
Enma.
The sword of my favorite character from One Piece, Roronoa Zoro, his latest sword. Enma in One Piece is a cursed blade.
Yo, that's sick.
I know. Basically, what Enma does is, in the One Piece anime, whenever you hold it, it forces all of your power into the blade and will leave you a dried out, dead husk in one swing. Go there. Nice. This one I also got from Amazon for $120. So we're in the upper budget class range now. I believe this one was labeled as a 1060 steel blade, which is a step above 1045. It's a little tougher, a little more durable, but not, and just slightly better in edge retention. The difference is minute at best.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the reason I really haven't cut with this sword is because, again, I don't want to ruin the paint job on the blade. I've cut a couple of times with it.
Mm-hmm.
But since RVA Katana has a much better version of Enma available, I'm going to buy that one and then strip this one for parts and make some sort of Franken Enma sword.
Mm-hmm.
If the red lit up, that would be super cool in the dark. I know, right? But no, in One Piece, the sword's actually purple. When it was first drawn, everybody thought that it was going to be black because Zoro has a color theme with his swords of having a red, a white, and a black blade. But still, I like purple Enma better. I like purple Enma too. It's just I like black Enma the best.
Mm.
And the Kashra just came off. Not the Kashra, the butt cap of the scabbard.
Hmm.
Now, this sword is not full tang, actually. Or at least, it's not full tang in the traditional sense. Because right here, under this cap, is a rat tail nut construction that I had to tighten down at one point. And then once I tightened it down, I super glued the cap back on. So even if I wanted to, even if this sword got loose, I couldn't really retighten it without breaking this cap off.
Mm-hmm.
But from what I can feel of this sword and the weight distribution, it is enough of a full tang that I can recommend this to be used against water bottles everything from your classic Ice Mountain to water jugs.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing much harder than a water bottle, basically. I wouldn't use this against bamboo or tatami mats or trees or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. I just love that design.
I do too, and now I have to pour super glue in the bottom of this.
Dang. How much did you say that was?
This one retails for $120.
Okay.
Now, we're actually going to take a break from the katana style blade and move on to European style swords, because that's mostly where my $200 sword lie. I looked up the price of tatami mats. It's crazy. They're like $20 each. Yeah, I know. I haven't ordered any tatami mats yet, but like I said, this year will be the year I cut tatami mats, if only one.
Yeah.
Now, most people, when they're looking for swords, some actually want to find a reasonably priced European longsword. This is the Cold Steel Hand and a Half Bastard Longsword. Geekopedia should appreciate this little bit down here.
Love it. It's like a cross.
Yep, and that's how I like to display it.
Heck yeah.
He didn't. It don't worry. It'll take him a minute to realize that I've inverted the cross.
Oh, wait. Yeah, that is upside down. I just now realized that.
I told you it'd take him a minute.
I might be dumb, but I'll be smart eventually.
Good. That would be a good shit hit the fan sword. I have a cross tattoo too, lol. But the real moneymaker on the bastard sword is its blade. This is considered by most in the HEMA community a very good beginner longsword to use. It's relatively light, it is quite nimble, and it cuts like a fucking devil out of hell on meth.
Dang.
Because this is when I have long swords or double-edged swords, I tend to leave one side factory and one side sharp. This is the sharp, this is the factory. Damn it.
Okay.
The fact that I can curl the cuts means that this thing has a damn sharp edge. Yeah, the edge of this table is like right here. Hence why I have to kind of sidestep. It has a sense stopper pommel, which means it fills up your hand like so. It is also a nut construction, but this is a different nut construction than the Enma, because this is actually a full tang functional blade. The only thing that's nutted on is the pommel itself. How long is that one? That one. The length of this blade is about 34 inches overall. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't show the factory edge as well. Not much difference between my edge and the factory edge. And this one also has a good amount of flex in the blade, if you can see it.
Yeah, I see it.
Okay. It is a cut and thrust sword, which means it focuses on cutting power and being able to thrust as well. Let me guess, Elvis?
No. Both our cameras went a little nuts.
Ah.
Like yours did too on my end.
Now, this sword ranges at $250.
Dang.
Keep in mind that as we get into the higher prices, I bought all these from Cult of Athena with a payment plan. I love how we live in America where we can just own giant swords. Oh. Well, if you're Geekopedia, your mother freaks the hell out every time your redneck-ass friend brings you a sword.
Yeah. No comment.
He just says no comment because his ass knows it's true. Yeah, his grandmother loves it when I bring him weapons. But yes, this sword retails for $250. It is an extremely good budget longsword. And like I tell a lot of people who ask me, just buy Cold Steel. Yeah, they have a reputation of being a little bit overbuilt and slightly bulky, but that just equates into my mind, okay, I'm getting a little extra durable blade, a little extra durability for my money.
Yeah.
I can relate to that. My mom was mad at first when I said I brought a katana. Oh, mother's right. Gotta love them. No. I was like, I'm just going to keep my mouth shut because of personal shit. But in any case.
Yeah. Let's get back to the swords.
Yeah. And naturally, you can also perform the standard HEMA-style complex cuts and shit. But yes, overall, the Cold Steel hand and a half longsword is a very good blade for the money. And while you do have to kind of, here's the thing, with mine I had to replace the grip with black electrical tape because the leather kind of came off as I was doing a bunch of Witcher shit because I had gotten into playing The Witcher and I tried to do a lot of the cuts in real life. Fun fact, the risers that Cold Steel uses, which are right here and right here, are actually carved into the wooden handle themselves. They're not leather like I thought. But yes, it has a good, comfortable grip. If you were to buy this, you may have to round off the corners on the guard and the pommel a little bit. But aside from that, it is a good blade. And it lets you get into, and it's slightly historically accurate with how its hilt construction appears. If you were to take this back in the 15th century, you really wouldn't be out of place, is what I'm trying to get at. It's overall a very good sword. It's made out of 1055 steel, which is phenomenal in terms of its durability and edge retention. That's what pretty much all Cold Steel swords are made out of, 1055. And I've done a lot of cutting with this sword, and it's still sharp. The scabbard is wood core with a leather binding.
I love the grip.
Do what?
I love the grip on that blade.
Nice. You can't even tell it's electric tape. That's not bad at all. It's the way I wrapped it. I wrapped it over itself and over itself crosswise so that the seams kind of meld into like a pleather-like appearance. Like when you get up close, you can tell it's black electrical tape, but from like distance, you would think that it's like extremely thinned out leather. Now, that is the Cold Steel. And keep in mind that pretty much all my European swords are Cold Steel as well. So keep that in mind. So I won't be repeating the steel type much going forward with the Cold Steels. But yes, overall, if you're looking for a beginner's longsword, I can highly recommend the Cold Steel hand and a half bastard sword. Do not, and I repeat, do not buy the Cold Steel Italian MMA sword, which is the Italian long sword that Cold Steel makes. It's the man-at-arms version. It's completely blacked out. Black blade, black grip, black guard, black, blackity, black. It sucks. Okay? The reason is it has a thick-ass double bevel on the edge plane, which, real quick, I'm honestly thinking about getting that one too now. Oh, Sweet Tones one, which is, you can see here, a sword is supposed to be sharpened from the central ridge straight down to a point, straight down to the edge. It is not, however, supposed to be sharpened like a knife that has a secondary bevel on its edge. That creates drag in the cut and reduces cutting power, and also the amount of sharpness you can get out of the blade if it's not done right, and they do not do it on the Italian sword with a dam. All right?
Mm-hmm.
I plan on buying the regular version of the Italian sword later on and see if there's a difference, and if there is a substantial difference, I will blunt the hell out of my Man-at-Arms version and use that as a training sword, because I'll have a much superior model. Yeah. I don't want you guys thinking that the Man-at-Arms version is basically corner cutting on an already middle budget sword. At least with my experiences.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good idea to cut soda cans, or would that break the blade? Honestly, no. Soda cans will not break the blade because Tempest cuts them all the time. You just really want to make sure that you don't cut the very top or the very bottom, because that's where the metal is thickest, and it could nick and or slightly chip the blade. Not any significant damage that you'd have to throw it away, but it would be more like a little tiny nick in the edge that is there, and it would be annoying, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, we have we're going to do this to thematically keep with the theme here of blades. We have the Cold Steel Viking sword.
Oh man, I love that one.
Because this is I think this is Geekipedia's favorite sword overall in my collection.
It is.
The Viking sword features a very thick, robust, and stout blade, coupled with a traditional Viking-style scroll work on the pommel and guard. That engraving on that looks sick. I know. And once again, I have a sharp side and a factory side. This is my edge. Keep in mind, Tones 1, that all these swords that I've sharpened, this is the factory, by the way, I have sharpened using a work sharp. The cord thing is one I put on here to tie it to my belt.
Toes
Unlike do what?
I was saying I agree with Toes 1. The engraving on that sword is awesome.
Thanks. The butt cap does not share the same kind of Christian motifs because Viking, pagan. But honestly, if you want to be truly correct, pagans are just Christians are just pagans that worship only one God.
Yeah.
Now, the Viking sword is very thick and robust, and again is made of 1055 steel. It is a heavy sword for a one-handed blade, but these swords have to go up against chainmail, gambeson, and wooden shield, and thick wooden round shields. So these are more powerful choppers than nimble slicers. This sword, I believe, cost me nearly 200 even, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. I bought all my Cold Steels I have bought from Cult of Athena, except for the Italian long sword, which is back in my room. All all this live stream is doing is tempting me to buy more swords, more and more swords. It's like, sword addiction is a genuine disease, my friend, and no one will blame you if you have it. At least not me. It's like that meme in real life. It's like, oh, I'll just buy one. I was like, all I need is one. And then it's like, oh, obviously I need to buy him a friend. And it's like, what if they get tired of each other and lonely? And it just keeps building up until eventually you wake up one day and realize that you are literally surrounded by about 110 pounds of steel. I got you, and I won't blame you either. Yes, the Viking sword is more for powerful chops and cleaving slashes. And again, if you're looking for a Viking sword without breaking the budget, at $200 and some odd dollars and some change, this isn't anywhere near bad blade for the money you get. The only problem I've had is that I've had to, because of the weight in the blade, I've had to retighten the tightening nut down here at the pommel. How many pounds is the Viking sword? It looks very nicely balanced. Well, here is the balance point of this thing. Here's the guard. Yeah, it's pretty far out there at about 6 inches. So generally, one-handed sword should be about 3 to 4 inches outside the end of the guard. But I don't have my scale out here at the moment. Geekopedia, entertain the live stream until I'm back. I'll be right back.
All right. It's just, this is like VeggieTales had the silly songs with Larry. This is the silly songs with Geekopedia. I don't know what I'm going to sing. I'm singing. I'm on a live stream and I'm singing. I'm on a live stream. This has been Silly Songs with Geekopedia.
What weird cringe shit has he made you endure?
I'm sorry.
All right, I have my scale with me. Look back here. All right. Aaron. I'm gonna have to move my burrito. I just say some weird ass out of pocket shit. Come on, damn you.
Outlaw, you are the kind of man that every man should strive to be. You have a burrito in one hand and a sword in the other hand.
The Viking sword is 3 pounds, 8 ounces, and thank you, Toad One. So at 3 pounds, this is the upper edge of weight for a one-handed sword. A slight correction on that. Barbecue cheese burrito.
Huh.
I practice singing in the shower. Yes, it is a bit heavy, but if you're looking for a Viking sword for cosplay or actual practice, it will work. If you do it for cosplay, you have to blunt the blade. But if you're actually looking for a Viking sword to cut with, this will cut like a motherfucker. Okay? Plus, it's also a great wrist and arm exercise. Just doing this. Because imagine, you're swinging around a 3-pound weight constantly. It's a great workout for the wrist and forearm. Next, we have the Kriegsmesser.
Ooh.
I did the wrap job myself on this.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it just me, or does it look a little bit like, or at least the guard looks a little bit more metallic?
It is metallic.
Oh.
It's a metal crossguard. This section right here is called a nagel or noggle. And it just translates from German to nail. What that's for is basically when you're fighting and parrying a blade, if you parry a blade down this flat, the blade will actually hit the noggle instead of slashing your hand open. I was about to ask what that thing sticking out was. Also, I just had tacos for dinner. So the creek. God damn it.
Something went down.
Yeah. I'll have to fix the soup on this one. But in any case, so the Kriegsmesser is also made of 1055 steel, but for some reason I had a lot of trouble keeping it from rusting, so I actually had to chemically blacken the entire thing. Did it break? No, it just bent a little. The table edge is right here, and I have to walk around this chair. There we go. If you're wondering what's dinging around, those are tin cans. But yeah, the Kriegsmesser was created in the 15th and 16th centuries by German knife guilds. Basically, the knife guilds wanted to also make swords, but because of the law, they couldn't. Only sword guilds could make swords. So what they did was they basically made a giant ass knife. And that's what this sword is legally classified as by 15th century German law because of the way its grip is constructed. You can't tell, but it's actually like a full tang knife. It has two wooden handle scales that are riveted together with brass pins. And because of the way that this grip was constructed, it made this thing a knife.
Oh, dang.
Or scale.
Holy cow.
Yeah. And you're wondering its sharpness? Now, sometimes, there we go. She's sharp. This one, I believe, was $240, $230, somewhere in there. It's nearly the same price as the longsword was. And similarly, it has quite a bit of flex in the blade. And because of how thin the blade is, it's a phenomenal slicing blade. It's very light and nimble. In fact, this sword is 3 pounds, 5 ounces, making it slightly lighter than the Viking sword, even though it's much bigger. And that's because it has better weight distribution over its size.
Okay.
Not to say the blade flappy since it's so big. Oh well. No, it's big. It's floppy like that because of the distal taper, which means as it gets closer to the point, the entirety of the blade thins out. blades with good digital taper make for very good balance.
Mm-hmm.
And very good cutters, especially in one hand. So most of the time you wouldn't use a Kriegsmesser of this size in one hand, but this is me we're talking about. I one-hand swing this bastard, which I'm going to be getting to in a minute. Another cold steel. But the Viking sword is heavier. Slightly heavier, about 3 ounces heavier, but still heavier.
I love the sheath.
Yeah, I'm starting to think that this is probably the reason why it was rusting so much, that I stuck it in a cardboard sheath. Next, we have the Cold Steel 1796 Light Cavalry Saber, which I've recently featured.
Yeah, I love the curve on that.
This one is also made of 1055 high carbon steel.
Mm-hmm.
And the saber it's not my sharpest blade, but it is in what the military terminology would be service sharpened, which means it does have a slightly sharpened edge.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yes, it is. It is actually curved like this, mainly to make it easier to draw on horseback, because this is actually a cavalry saber.
Mm.
But this is a unique cavalry saber in the sense that it was not made specifically just to be used on horseback. This could also be easily used and manipulated by your standard everyday foot soldier. And believe it or not, this type of sword was actually the first melee weapon to ever be considered a weapon that caused war crimes.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the Napoleonic era, from 1796 to 1840, the Napoleonic era, the French troops under Napoleon would continuously protest the brutality of these sabers, where in one good swing, you could lop off a human arm, leg, or even their heads.
Dang.
This was designed to do one thing and one thing only, and that was butcher humanity.
Dang.
Plus, with the fact
it's a literal killing machine in that sense.
do what?
It's a literal killing machine in that sense.
Pretty much. Not to mention that with the knuckle bow, you had the ability to punch. Doing that is crazy, so it's a sword basically made for war. It is a sword made for war in all the aspects. It's a military saber. It was designed to do one thing, and that was kill the enemy. This sword, I believe, cost me is actually offered by Cold Steel, I think, is sub $200 without shipping or tax.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think this was actually $180. Mainly because I didn't buy the one with the steel scabbard, which is more historical. I bought the one with the leather scabbard.
Mm-hmm.
Because steel scabbards would keep rubbing the edge and blunting it every time you drew it. Do you own or have you ever thought about buying a World War II katana? Not to get off the topic. I have considered buying a World War II era Shin Gunto until I looked at the prices for them, $1,000 plus. I was like,
dang.
Yeah, I want that, but at the same time, I'm poor white folk don't have money for that. I probably put myself in financial debt with all the swords on this table, and that's just a small pool.
Dang.
But yes, again, 1055 steel is a great cutter. The only caveat I would add is that you you may want to sharpen this out of the box, and you may go through about 2 or 3 boxes of belts on the work sharp to get this hair popping. I can relate. And similar to the Kriegsmaster, I had a shit time with this thing rusting. That's why it's painted white. I wanted something that didn't change the... God damn it.
Hey, dude.
Yeah?
I have to leave soon, but I actually have to get ready to go because I have to go do something and I have to hop on another live stream.
Alright. I'll let you go then, bro.
Alright. I hate to leave, but I've had a lot of fun seeing all your swords. Toes One, it's been great to meet you and all you other noble band of outlaws out there. It was amazing to be here. I love you all. Remember, God loves you and I love you too. This has been Geekopedia, your president of all geek culture, signing out.
Alright. See you, Geekopedia. But as I was saying, this sword, like I said, you'll basically go through about 2 or 3 belts to get this hair popping sharp, unless you just want to go for service sharpen. And while it's not very conclusive for straight thrusts, if you're going to do any kind of thrust test, I would suggest doing sideways thrust or thrusting up into the target. But yeah, it's not overall an encompassing sword. It's actually made specifically to be used in conjunction with a pistol, which all military blades are. From the 17th century on, basically made to be used with is a side pistol. Let's see here. That basically covers all the European swords. Okay. Thanks for the shout out to Geekopedia, Tones One. Now we're going to get into the higher echelon of blades. Alright, not bad at all. Now, would you primarily use something like that for stabbing or slashing? This is predominantly a slashing weapon, not a stabbing one. You can do it, but it is predominantly used for slashing, hacking, chopping, and basically delimbing an enemy. Now, these are the higher echelon of blades that I own. Starting from the beginning of what I would consider middle budget to high budget end swords is this. The Sokochikara Scorn Katana that I bought, that you can actually, as far as I'm aware, the only ones that sell Sokochikara are TrueSwords.com. It's kind of their house brand. But you can see that lovely Hamon temper pattern. This is actually differentially hardened T10, which T10 is an equivalent to 1095. That one is shiny. Thank you. 1095 is the highest end of the 10 series of steel that encompass 1045, 1060, 1055, 1075, 1085, and now 1095. But T10 is basically American 1095 with an extra added element of tungsten added into the steel mix, which tungsten makes it very scratch resistant, very abrasive resistant, and also helps it keep its edge just ever so longer than 1095. It's not a heavy sword by any means. It's actually quite light. And it does have a slightly unique style of habaki. Now, this sword is sold on True Swords. Not bad at all. That one looks pretty light in the hand. It is quite light in the hand. This one is $300 even on TrueSwords.com before shipping and all that. I think it was like $299, so about $300 even. It is a very nice blade. I haven't really cut with it a whole lot because of the fact that it is differentially hardened. And it's not because the spine is softer than the edge. That's not the reason why. I don't want to destroy this nice, beautiful Hamon pattern. I have cut with it, just not a whole lot. You can, if you scroll down to the repertoire of videos I have, you'll find the videos on Sokuchikara. Overall, not a bad blade. And it does give you a good semblance of what you can get for $300. Now, T10 as a whole, in terms of its steel, like I did say, is slightly better in terms of in terms of abrasion resistance and edge retention than 1095. But generally 1095 is a bit cheaper. And you really don't sacrifice a whole lot between the two steels. I like that one a lot. After I get used to the one I got, I definitely will get one in the $200 to $300 price range. Nice tone one, but I haven't even shown you the higher ends of this $300 plus price range. So don't go rushing to buy swords, my boy. Buying a sword is like buying a car or choosing a girlfriend. Once you do, it sticks with you for the rest of your life. Though the girlfriend part I wouldn't know about. But in any case, my clinical depression aside, we'll be moving into a slightly higher price range of the upper 300s. And I actually have two swords, both from the same manufacturer, to show off. This is the Dragon King Spring Sakura Katana, made by Cast Tiberia. It's made out of 5160 spring steel, which is the same type of steel found in the leaf springs of semi-trucks. That's my favorite now. Of course. Of course, that's my sharpening job. It doesn't come that sharp, but still. And before you ask, I'm the one that did the Sageo wrapping right here. The tip on that looks crazy pointy. It's your standard Shinogi Zakuri tip geometry, but yes, it is quite pointy. This sword is actually extremely light, lighter than the Sokochikara even, which allows for quick, fast transitions between your cuts. Also, it's rock solid. This one retails for $375 on Cult of Athena. And also it has a Sakura Blossom style Suba. But don't think I ain't getting to some of the even better swords. Because while this one is nice, it's a little small for my liking. Unlike its big sister, the Dragon King Winter Sun. And I made this part. The Dragon King Winter Sun features a snow theme with snowflake Manuki. The Manuki on the spring Sakura are Sakura blossoms. That's a big one. Oh my boy, this ain't even my biggest sword. That's still to come. This is a 31-inch Nagasa, which means blade length. And just like its little sister, sharp. Again, the good thing about the Dragon King seasonal collection, which encompasses this, the Winter Sun, the Spring Sakura, the Summer Lotus, and the Autumn Leaf, they're all made out of 5160 spring steel. They all have different seasonal themes, but they all retail for the same price, which is $375, which makes them very, very much a I want to say predictable set of swords to buy. Eventually, I will own all 4 of them, but that's a later down the road kind of thing. Right. This one is also very nice. I find it to be very light in my hand. I don't know how much other people would. As I said, this has a 31-inch blade on it, so not a lot of people like 30-plus inch blades. A lot of people just prefer the 27 to 29-inch blades that most people generally use. Again, I did the wrapping on this, and I did some like Sharpie drawings in silver Sharpie, but it's kind of worn away. This is the one that kept falling on the floor. Is that one considered battle ready? Battle ready is not really something that I like to use in terms of its terminology, simply because that truly any sword you take into battle with you that you have at the time could be classified as battle ready if you think about it that way. No, all the swords I've shown you are functional. It's just these latter half swords are the ones that if I had to choose to take into a fight are basically the ones, yes, I would trust to take into a fight. Mainly the ones being everything from the cold steel pile that I showed, both of the Dragon Kings. I really wouldn't take the Sokojikara simply because of the fact that it's a little short for my liking overall. The grip is short, the blade is short. It's just a little too short for my personal liking. And then we get to this one. This retails for $475. The Hanwei Raptor Nanabukacho Zokuri. And this is a beast. I didn't give it the name of the eagle's claw for nothing. And as we so often do, It certainly earns its reputation of being called a raptor. I believe this also has a 31-inch Nagasa, or just a 30-inch Nagasa. But yeah, at $475, Hanwei is a golden standard in the sword collecting community for a reason. They have a good reputation of being reliable blades with fit and finish. Some of their work is pricey. Most of the time, you won't find a Hanwei selling for anything less than $250. So they are they're a mid-budget to throw money to the wind kind of price range in terms of their company. They sell everything from a $250 sword, and I believe they've just recently launched a $150 model. I think it's the Mocha something. And they go from that $150 Mocha to a $6,000 sword. So they do have an extreme price range for pretty much everyone to fill in. At the end of the day, swords are things that you make investments in. And Hanweis are built, in my opinion, to last, especially the Raptors. These were made to be beginner swords that you'd give to someone just starting out cutting. That's why they're still made from 5160 spring steel. It's very forgiving, can take a really nice edge, keep that edge for a good period of time, and won't bend, snap, or break unless you do something really fucking stupid like put the blade in a vise and then yeet it with all your might. Have you ever bought any used swords? I've never bought a used sword, but I was given 2 used swords. One by my friend Jonathan Kidd, which was actually my first ever sword. Let me do a quick little caveat so I don't end up perjurizing myself. This was the first ever sword I bought. The first ever sword that I ever actually got was from my friend Jonathan Kidd. And then Space Ghost, a few months ago, sent me one of his Suedo swords, which I have named the Kokuryu. Videos are in the list on the channel. But no, I never bought used swords simply because it's like buying a used gun or a used car or a used bow. You don't know the problems that the sword really has until you get it in your hands. And since there's not really a brick and mortar store around me that sells used swords, except for like pawn shops on rare occasions, then I'm a little leery when it comes to buying used swords because of that realm of logic. Not that I wouldn't buy a used sword off of someone I knew that was reputable. It's just I'm cautious with reason. I was just wondering because I've seen some swords on eBay that were used. That's why I was asking. As long as they are a reputable retailer or someone that you trust, I would say go ahead. But if you're looking at pictures of the sword and something just doesn't feel right to you, like if you look at them and it's like something with the grips a little off or the blade looks a little bent, depending on the price, like if it's a $50 sword and you like if someone's selling a used spring Sakura for example, and it's like $50 and the worst thing is that the wrapping's coming undone, I would say go ahead and buy it because this is a damn tough sword. There's a very small percentage that they've done something to this blade that is beyond repairable. And you can always watch a few YouTube videos and learn how to rewrap a katana handle or grip. But if it's something that you just don't feel right, I would not advise buying it. But if you do know the retailer, if you do know the one selling it and they are reputable quality, I'd say check reviews. Just check reviews from this seller and uh, see if other people have had satisfied uh, experiences purchasing from him. That's what I have to say on the used sword front. Do you think lacrosse tape would make a good wrap for swords? I don't know. I've never actually tried using sports tapes to rewrap a sword. I've only ever used electrical tape, but depending on the thickness of the wood core itself and the added thickness of the sports tape, it may work. I mean, it works on baseball bats and tennis rackets, so by no means should it not work for a sword. Personally speaking, I would take the sword, if you can take the grip off and unwrap it and everything, I would take the sports tape, tie a string around one end, wrap it so that you can get your full hand on it, and just see how that feels in your hand. If it feels good, take the adhesive backing off, stick that bitch on, and use it. If it don't feel good to you, I'd look for something else. At the end of the day, I can't tell you what to do with your swords, Tone 1. I can only give you advice. They're your swords. You do with them as you please. I can say this because I have common sense enough to say it. Though that does actually sound like something that I could try. Oh no. Don't worry, there's like a mini trash can on the table. That's actually something I could try. Like maybe down the road, if one of my swords wraps come undone, I'll see about getting lacrosse tape and using it to repair the sword wrap. That's actually something I might look into. I just thought it would be neat because you can get all sorts of neon colors. Oh, that would be cool! Like, you know, like the zombie weapons you see used in like some videos, like the green, like the neon green and black zombie weapons. That could actually be kind of cool. God damn it! Now I gotta try this shit. Thank you for putting me in an even worse financial situation. Fuck it, this sword, I don't care. Okay. Now, for the final and most expensive sword I have. Two quick caveats. One, I replaced the grip on this one because it was too short for my liking. So the grip on it is one I made. And two, I've had to do a lot of work to the scabbard over the last couple of years with patching it up and painting over the dings. And it's a cold steel. Now, when it comes to a cold steel katana, what I believe is if you're paying $500 for a cold steel katana, you're paying $300 for the blade, $150 for all the fittings and mounts, and then $50 for basically the brand. And it's this Goliath, the Cold Steel Warrior O Katana. With a 34-inch blade. Thank you. And I have seen the Espada knife. I just haven't found time to order it yet. But yeah. 1055 steel. Half-inch thick blade. Tapers to quarter-inch thick. Hey, Space Ghost. Glad you can make it. I was just doing a whole kind of going over video of my swords going from the cheapest, which is the $50 crane katana, all the way up to this, which was $700 plus when I bought it 2 years ago. So yeah, I'm definitely going to make like a condensed version of this video. You also missed Geekopedia showing up and my attempts to eat a burrito while still making live streaming. It's weird. That's weird. I set up a 2-hour notice and everything. YouTube must have fucked us over again. Yeah. As I've been doing the entire video. She's sharp. This is my favorite sword because of its size. I go back and watch the whole thing when you post it. I've always been interested to see all the blades in your collection. From Gold of Athena. Yeah, I've been doing a lot of stuff for Toes 1 to give him a lot of information on basic blade care and all that. And Space Ghost, this is not my whole collection on the table. That is going to be a editing nightmare of its own. But basically, I'll go back through the blades for you. Crane katana. Shinwa Hellfire Damascus Ninjato. Enma from One Piece. Soko Chikara Scorn Katana. Viking Sword. Kriegsmesser. Long sword. $17.96 Light Cavalry Saber. Nanabuka Josakuri Hanwei Raptor. Spring Sakura. And finally, Dragon King Winter Sun. Mainly because I was just showing the Warrior O as you were coming in. So as you picking up a blade and getting into cutting, yes, so I just bought a work sharp knife. And me and my dad are making a tatami sample of that one. I got an Oda clan katana. Nice. So, basically, in the complete conclusion of this video, everything from $50 to $750. A complete menagerie of blades. And once the weather gets better, I'm going to actually get all my swords together and make an armory video. And dig in the Dragon Kings, they make excellent stuff. Yes, they do. Hey, Gargoyle. Well, you missed the whole intro to sword buying. Basically, everything from a $50 sword to a $170 sword. I know, usually I go live at around 8:30. But then again, just all this. I got a fucking table full of swords. I'm the only cutting YouTuber who hasn't branched out from Japanese style blades, lol. I'll say, Gargoyle, I ain't seen you cut with a long sword, so you and Space Ghost are still in the whole katana only niche. What is your favorite outlaw? What is your favorite outlaw out of all the ones you showed today? Also, hey, Gargoyle, nice to meet you. Ah! No, you're not Space Ghost. That's all I have is Japanese swords, right? Toes one, to answer your question, and Gargoyle and Space Ghost are going to be like, here he goes again. It's the Warrior O. This is my favorite sword. It has the size, the weight, and most of all, the power that I love in a blade. They get really would like an Irish ring sword at some point. It's a great blade, Outlaw. Thanks. And just out of curiosity, while I still have the scale over here, I'm going to do it this way. £3, 8 ounces is the weight of the Warrior O, which basically translates into a 5-pound sword when you're swinging it with your full weight because of inertia. Nice. The sword that Tone Death is talking about is Enma from One Piece. Which, Tone Death, if you're going to get a replica of Enma, I suggest going to the RVA Katana website and buying it from there because they're extremely reputable. Hey, Armored Sweatpants! Me too, I just bought one from Culver City last night. What you getting, Gargoyle? So, basically what the live has been about, Armored Sweatpants, is sword buying from $50 to $750. You're going to have to wait for the video. Hey man, how's the night going? I'll leave him in suspense. Oh, Gargoyle, why you gotta do us like that? You can't give us some kind of little sneak peek, little preview. Outlaw not learning his lesson for 5 seconds. No. Nice, it feels good to see you. Like, see, this is what live should be. Sword brothers joining together in harmony. And me with the crushing realization that I have a lot of cleanup to do from the live stream. But anyway, my most expensive sword is around $400. Yeah, Outlaw exclusive sneak preview of the new Gargoyle game. Everyone drop a like if you want Gargoyle to leave us a sneak preview. Maybe if we get above 10 likes, he'll at least tell us the color of the blade. I agree, Outlaw, Brothers of the Blade. Yeet. Yeah, like, I'm not going to get into the whole shit that has recently transpired with me. That's a depressing topic that I'm going to put behind me now, as I have heard nothing but radio silence from the individual that caused it ever since. Happy Outlaw is back, and slightly insane Outlaw. Get the damn water. So, of any of these swords on the table, is there any that you guys want to take another look at or want me to discuss? We have the Dragon King Winter Sun, the Raptor, the Crane, the Spring Sakura, the Viking Sword, the Enma, the Kriegsmesser, the Longsword, the Sokochikara. Steering him by his... I think they got banned because you can't click on 3 channel on this video you posted now. Alright, so Space Ghost wants to see the Raptors again. Alright, so Space Ghost, you have the Hana and the Warhorse, correct? I have the Winter Sun and the Spring Sakura. Which actually is the official die show of this channel. The top is the Winter Sun, the bottom is the Spring Sakura. Now the blades are pretty much both the identical profile, except the Spring Sakura is a good 3 inches shorter than the Winter Sun. I was like, I'm just waiting for someone to comment that, like, yeah, only Outlaw would have a die show made of an O katana and a full-size katana. The Nagi Nasa 30-inch on the Winter Sun. Actually, the Nagi fuck, I said it earlier. The Naginasa on the Winter Sun is actually 31 inches. So you're an inch short there. This one is about 27 inches. Do you ever paint the pegs that keep the blade in place? Right. Thank you, Ours Pants. It's like, no, you can paint the Makugi pegs, but with the fact that you would be pushing the Makugi pegs in and out when you disassemble them, it would chip the paint off anyways. So there's really, personally, not a lot of incentive to paint them, in my opinion. If I don't comment, it's because I'm working on an art piece. But don't worry, Gargoyle Blades. We'll just continue to talk shit. It's like, I can just see it now. It's like, aha, Outlaw, you're a comedian. like, oh, thank you, but common sense won't help you with me. Now, something I wasn't able to show earlier, because I kind of forgot about it, was the fact that the winter sun actually has two Japanese macaque snow monkeys on the Suba, and then a sprinkle pattern that is supposed to be reminiscent of snow. But yeah, it is a nice blade and very strong. Is it tradition for the swordsman to teach stain the rayskin? I'm a coffee guy myself, so my Hanwei smells like hazelnut. I love their fittings. I've seen one of those in the Philadelphia Zoo before. Tea stain. Actually, armored sweatpants, it is traditional to stain the Samegawa, just not as we would consider it today with like reds and yellows and all that other shit. What they would do is they would, like you said, they would basically use a black tea. As far as I'm aware, don't quote me on this, but they would use a black tea and they would just leave the Samegawa to soak in the black tea for a few days. And it would stain the Samegawa a brownish amber color. And the fact that your sword smells like hazelnut tells me more of the kind of creamer you like in instead of the type of coffee. And for any of you wondering, I was the one that made this Sageo for the Winter Sun and the Spring Sakura. Stay. I use Dunkin' Donuts coffee. I was going to say, can't go wrong with Dunkin', and if I can avoid landing on my ass. So, any other blades we wish to learn about while I attempt to unbury my Kriegsmesser? Yeah. For those of you that, this would actually be a good time to talk about this, because for those of you that want a single-edged European-style blade that handles similar to a katana and a longsword, Kriegsmesser. Outlaw, have you ever thought about getting any type of armor before or own any? I've made like cardboard play armor before when I was younger, and before I really knew what all that went into making armor. And I would like a set of samurai armor. It's just at this current time, I neither have the funds nor really the storage space to keep it in. Nice curved single edge. Yeah, this is the Cold Steel Kriegsmesser. The only thing I would tell you all is be wary, because the crossguard and the blade like to dull on this model, which is why I had to chemically blacken the entire thing. But yeah, it's basically people. Some of the katana people get mad when you say this. Like, no, not the katana people. The HEMA people will get mad when you say this. It's basically the European equivalent of the katana. But if you think about it, it kind of functions the same way as a katana. Still working on my chainmail. Fair enough. Love a Dunkin' with 2 turbos and a few creams. Honestly, I don't think I've never actually had Dunkin' Donut coffee. So that may be something for the next taste test or something. But yeah. Overall, This is the only other single-edged curved blade I own that isn't a single-handed one. Yeah. I hope to be doing a lot more live streams this year, especially maybe even doing indoor pool noodle cutting once I'm finally able to buy pool noodles. For the state that literally invented the meme, snow flip-flops next to snow shovel, flip-flops next to snowshoes, fishing poles next to snow shovels, play center next to rock salt, and shorts next to long underwear. We don't sell pool noodles all year round. Chainmail is very popular these days. I know 3 people who do it. Copy. Chainmail diving suits are really cool looking. I wonder how heavy they are. Well, they're for diving. I'd say they at least have to be somewhere in the realm of maybe 100-ish pounds. Maybe not that much. Maybe like 30, 40 pounds in total weight. Okay, right. I'm back. Outlaw tired of standing and wanting to be lazy. Okay. All right. That's better. Hello, random pool noodle drop. Hello, wild parang. To keep the sharks from killing you, I bet they work well. Hi, y'all. Hello, wild parang. Welcome to the live stream. As you can see, I have a plethora of swords back here, so if any of them pick your fancy and you wish for me to talk about, just say which one in a generic way. In the meantime, let's revisit the longsword. Now, I hear a lot of people talk about, like, there's no good budget longswords out there and stuff like that. Well, the reason why you hear this is because, maybe I should turn that back. There you go. The reason why people say there's no good budget longswords out there is because most of the HEMA community want to bash on cold steel. And the reason is that cold steel, I don't have any long swords. I'll say. Well, Wild Pong, if you want, you can go to Cult of Athena. Look up this one. It's the Cold Steel Hand and a Half sword. And you can get it for $250. And if you sign up for it, you can use their payment plan, Sizzle, and either do monthly payments or 4 payments bi-weekly of 1/4 of the full price. The full price includes shipping, by the way. Right. The Katana guys do too bash on cold steel. I know, and I fucking love cold steel. As evidenced by my favorite sword, the Cold Steel Warrior O. But, as I was saying, so the HEMA guys, they like to bash on Cold Steel simply because they say shit like, oh, their swords aren't historically accurate, oh, their swords are too heavy, and shit like that. And personally, if I was in the room, I would just say, get stronger. Alright? You can't wield a blade, get stronger so you can use it. I'd be the one to incite an entire riot in a HEMA school. But aside the point, No, I just thought of something. If you were to cut the quillons of this longsword off, you could effectively turn this into a two-handed jian with a pommel. I have a bunch of cold steel knives and one of the spearheads. I just don't like how they use stamped steel for almost everything. Well, one, they may use stamped steel, but in retrospect, and those of you who watch my channel for a while know I like to play devil's advocate and see both sides. It's easier if they can just punch out a shape and grind the finishing, if they can just punch out a rough shape and then grind to finish, than if they actually have to take their time to forge out the blades. And it also makes everything more uniform, more equal, basically, because it eliminates a lot of the unpredictabilities of forging. Sometimes with hand forging and hand finishing, you can have a blade that's a few inches longer, a few inches shorter, a few inches high, a few grams or ounces heavier, or a few grams and ounces lower than what the actual weight of the description says. It's all about, and very important, is the heat treatment. While Parang makes a very good point, it's also, whether you use stock removal or forging, it all comes down to heat treatment and temper. The knife guys love cold steel. I just remember a few years back about blades breaking and giving bad customer service. I never really heard about blades breaking. I know that cold steel catches shit for their Euro swords, which Euro is short for European, but their Euro swords basically having loose guards and loose pommels. From what I can see, I never really had to deal with that. The only sword I have to deal with that somewhat on is the Viking sword. Hey, Uncle Ninja, listening at work, spotty signal on my end. I'm sorry to hear that, Uncle Ninja. They have some nice flippers. I really want that master folding knife. LOL. It's like collecting comically large objects. Oh, you mean the Espada? I wouldn't mind having the Espada too. Cold steel was better quality before Lim Thompson left. I don't know. I don't think I have any pre-Lynn Thompson blades to make the comparison to. I bought this longsword within, I think I actually bought this last year, honestly. Ninja, nice to see you again. I loved my Kyoto 2 from them. From Cold Steel. But yeah, the HEMA community bashes these because of the non-historical nature of them and the fact that they sometimes come with loose guards and pommels. But if you look through the annals of history, if you were to take even these two cold steel swords back to the respective eras that they came from, which is the 10th century and the 14th, 15th centuries, these would be swords used by noblemen. These would basically be swords that only high-ranking nobles could afford in terms of their fit, finish, and quality. Because you need to understand, what we consider lesser quality swords in the modern era would be considered god-tier craftsmanship just a few hundred years ago. A sword like this in the 1500s would be used by a king. And this would more than likely be used by a Viking chieftain. We are, in essence, spoiled with the way we have machines creating all the fit and finish of our blades. We have way better steel now, it's not even close. True, Armored Sweatpants. But I'm not just talking about the steel quality. I'm talking about the fit and finish overall. The overall fit and finish of these blades would be leaps and bounds beyond what your common smith could do in the ye old olden days. These would be blades that would be forged by master smiths under the direct employ of a king or a nobleman in terms of their fit, finish, and blade quality. And honestly, I've done some pretty incredible cuts. The reason why the cutting video for this sword is one of the longest cutting videos I've made is simply because of how great this sword cut. I just didn't want to stop cutting with it when I started doing the cutting video. You can even find imperfections in an antique katana. True, though, at the moment I'm mainly talking about European swords, not really katana. But Gargoyle does bring up a very good point, is that even the quintessential katana, historical fit and finish was artisan from what I've seen, custom to the blade. True. It all depended on the skill of the artisan and the craftsman making the blade. But even with the quintessential quote unquote best sword in the world, because while I do love katanas, they are not the end all be all of swords. Even with these katanas from antique blades and everything, they still had imperfections and blemishes. But if you were to take a modern mass-produced katana of the quality of this Dragon King back into the Edo period, the smiths of that day would be completely blown away by how perfect the lines are, how flat the planes are, how even and smooth the distal taper of the blade is. Pretty much all that. That's pretty much what I'm getting at in terms of historical fit and finish versus the modern day. Now, you show up with a blade like this in feudal Japan, they're going to think you're some sort of demon from hell, which isn't much far off. This is the Hellfire Shinwa Ninjato, which I know it's not historical by any means, but at one point I wanted a ninja sword. I wanted the stereotypical Hollywood ninja sword because, look, we all have one in the collection. We all have, anyone who collects swords is also a weeboo, okay, to some extent. Everything has an RC of around 60 these days. Very similar hardness, Euro or Japanese. Yeah, and there's another thing. The Rockwell hardness of traditional European swords that have been tested only usually maxed out around 45 or 50 HRC in comparison to our 58 to 60 HRC, which is leaps and bounds harder. So there's that. Don't tip the chair over, dumbass. But that's pretty much it on the whole like fit and finish aspects of it. But anything else you wish to speak about my noble band of outlaws? Any questions or really anything sword related that you have? Euro swords weren't clay tempered or folded steel. True. And clay tempering does help clay tempering does help a tremendous amount in getting a harder edge, but the European swords, because here's the thing, most people don't want to kind of accept this in some circles, but in the 15th century and even the 14th century, Europeans had spring steel. They had steel that they could bend 45 degrees and it would spring back to true. Now, granted, these were usually swords reserved for the very wealthy who could afford a good quality steel blade. I always get ads for it on Instagram. Do you have any opinions on that mini katana website? I'll get to that in just a moment on one. But what the European swordsmiths did of the age, and it even carried on into the military sabers of the Napoleonic era and onward, is that what they would do is they would have an iron core similar to a Japanese sword. The blades would have an iron core and tang, and they would have a layer of steel sandwiched between them for an edge. It was done to basically elongate the good steel supply while also having enough material to make a good blade. Because you need to have a soft spine to take shock, but a hard edge to cut. So while they were mono-hardened, they had an effect similar to differential hardened. I feel like cheap ninja sword is a peasant sword, but still cool. I'll get to that in a moment. So, mini katana. Honestly, I've seen some of this stuff, and I was even tempted to buy like this little folding knife that has like a little katana blade on it. And while I haven't bought any of their swords, the shorts that they do kind of make me cringe. Like, they'll leave a sword out rusting for days on end, or they'll try some other kind of weird out-of-pocket shit. Don't get me wrong, the blades I've seen on their sites do look of decent quality and seem functional. It's just I don't have any kind of... It's just the way that they do their experiments and stuff kind of make me a little hesitant to buy them, but I have been thinking of buying one. I can't really say anything until I buy one of their swords for myself. And most of the swords that they seem to put their name on are very much high-end, budget range of what I've seen to be somewhere between $300 and up, or anime swords that are $300 and below. So I don't really have a conclusive opinion because I don't have enough data to make a conclusive opinion on mini katana. You got a great edge on that ninja dog. Cut that great clean. I saw they recently started selling anime style blades, but for the longest time I just remember them selling these nifty letter opener things. Yeah, I don't know about the letter openers. Cheap sword for the peasants, the ninjato. What the fuck did I put it? I have a table full of swords and I lose a sword. Oh, and the bloody hell did I lose a sword with a big ass rectangle guard? Oh, my dumbass doesn't even pay attention. It's right here. From what I've seen, they make anime reproductions. Yeah, they definitely make a lot of anime swords, and they actually have an anime-accurate Sandai Kitetsu, which I'm thinking of buying. Because I can't ever find one with a brown grip. They always have red grips and red saya, and in the anime, and in the manga, Sandai Kitetsu does not have a red grip. But as for a cheap peasant sword, I can see where you're coming from, Uncle Ninja. Like, I would definitely think that if I saw someone with a sword like this, they either got it from their local village blacksmith that isn't particularly skilled at forging blades, or uh, they made it themselves. But I could see this as like a poor peasant's blade, like kind of like a. Well, if this wasn't obviously modeled after the Hollywood Ninja Toe, I would honestly say you could probably get away with it as a Chokuto or a Shimosuke if you were to remove the Suba. What I've seen, they make anime replicas. Waiting on Death Frenzy Katana, that will never happen. I don't think I've ever seen Death Frenzy. An anime or video game or what is it? Yeah. I could see this as being a cheap peasant's sword, honestly, with the way it's shaped and everything. But honestly, I kind of have to go with this. If I was a cheap peasant and had my choice between this and this crane katana, I'd take the crane katana simply because uh, A, it historically existed, and B, if I unsheath this, I'm not going to be considered a demon and people trying to burn my ass at the stake. It's a samurai anime. Death Frenzy, Death Frenzy. I've seen a lot of samurai animes, but I don't think I've ever seen Death Frenzy. What the hell? I want to look up Death Frenzy real quick. Death Frenzy. Oh, Shiguri. Okay, I actually have seen that one. Shiguri Death Frenzy. That's what was throwing me off because I know it is. When I talk about it, I refer to it as Shiguri, not Death Frenzy. Historical, they believe historically they believe the ninja used the wakazaki because anyone could own them. They also never found a ninja sword yet. Do you think I can use my black belt as a sword belt, or will it be too loose? Not to get off topic. Yes. Like, okay, for Gargoyle, I actually do very much agree with Gargoyle. Uh, it would make more sense for ninjas to use Wakazaki length blades, but I could also see a ninja probably getting away with a full-size katana if he could make it appear that he was a samurai. Because ninja and samurai were pretty much interchangeable. You could be a ninja and still be a samurai in your daily life, or be a samurai and in your private life, when you're serving your lord, do ninja-like activities. Well, sorry, Toast. Oh no, Toast, I'm about to do yours. And personally speaking, I could actually see ninjas mostly favoring Shimosuke cane swords, which have a Chokuto style blade, but they look like canes, and they pretty much appear to be like not this because this rattles, but like or like they did just no fuck I didn't talk. They would just be walking around pretending to be like an invalid or a cripple, and then all of a sudden just like Zatoichi shit. I was looking for a sword belt online, but I can't find much in pictures of samurai. I saw online they just shove it in a row. Well, technically, Tones One's your karate belt is already a type of obi belt, which is the traditional belt used to hold the katana in the hakama, which is the rope. And I actually have a karate gi. I lost my belt somewhere in the massive pile of totes that are in my room. But I was using that for a while as a sword belt. As long as you tie it around your waist tight, it will work because it lets you slide the saya in and out easily. And you can also perform like sayabiki and moves like that. But in terms of sword belts that you'll find online, most of the sword belts you'll find are really made for European style swords, like rapiers or back swords or such and so like that, or sword frog, which I don't know what the hell happened to my sword frog, but this is pretty much my go-to sword belt. This is a 3-inch wide leather work belt that holds my swords extremely well. And if you're wondering what this is for when I start doing cosplay. I basically will be cosplaying as a dwarf. And this little piece here is to hold my drinking horn. This is my dwarven eating knife with a little scabbard deal that I made to make out of black electrical tape to make it resemble black leather. I have my horn handle bottle opener that actually came with my Viking drinking horn. And no dwarven cosplay is complete and Armored Sweatpants knows about this already. He was one of the ones that commented the most on its unboxing video. No dwarven cosplay is complete, especially if you're going for Tolkien-style dwarves, without ye old church warden's pipe. I mean, after all, you gotta have something to smoke your pipe weed with. As of right now, this is an actual fully functional pipe. Like if I wanted to smoke out of this, I could. But it's mainly used right now for cosplay and a prop. If Indiana ever changes its laws on the smoking of weed, then it'd be used for. Personally speaking, I don't see any fault or problem with someone smoking cannabis. It's all natural, but still, if Indiana ever changes its infernal laws on the subject, that's what this pipe will only ever be used for. I would 100% smoke the devil's lettuce out of that. Thank you, Tones One. But overall, what do you all think of my dwarven cosplay pouch? I'm going to stuff my pipe back in there. It's not finished yet. I still need to add a knife, a fork, and maybe some other odds and ends. Got like a drink holder right here. Yeah. In terms of a sword belt, this works extremely well, and you can get it very nice and tight. The only thing I would be cautious about is the seams on these inside here. They can chip up your swords, the lacquer work on your swords very quickly. Okay. Y'all went ham with the comments, and now I have to go back up. Okay, do you think I can use a for some online, I was just wondering because I would like to incorporate my new sword coming in the mail into a shit hit the fan loadout. Nice. I really wouldn't use the. From what I've seen, I wouldn't really trust that sword in a when the fan hits the shit situation. That's more of a backyard cutting blade. This is my if shit hits the wall and I need to do nothing but slaughter everything in sight sword. I think we all need to make videos of our shit hit the fan blades in action. Entitle it When Shit Hits the Fan Blade. That could be like a 2024 thing for the backyard cutting community. Okay. Smoke the lettuce weed. I own 6 church wardens, mostly pale wood and briar wood, most luxurious. You're a wizard, okay? You have to have that many weed pipes because that's just the sheer quantity of pipe weed you go through, Armored Sweatpants. I'm a dwarf, okay? Our thing is drinking with smoking on the side. Yours is smoking with drinking on the side. I give it a 9 out of 10. Maybe add some flowering, maybe add some throwing knives and somewhere to keep a lighter. I was going to say, lighter wouldn't really fit the dwarven fantasy, but I can see where you're going with. Right. Also, nice armored sweatpants. I was tempted to do a pipe of the month videos. You should totally do a pipe of the month video, Armored Sweatpants. I'd watch that shit. I want to see these luxurious church wardens of yours. LOL, I couldn't get a hand free to write. My Obi is a high-speed guitar. Is a high-speed gear pistol belt with a soft cloth pin where the sire sits. I'll say, Uncle Ninja coming strapped, okay? Like, I'm gonna do a thing real quick. The more I take this in and out of that slit, the easier it gets. Just cinch down the old belt. I'm going to use the spring socker after this, because I've carried the spring socker with this belt before. As we can see, holds the blade very nicely. And while you can do Sayabiki with this, it's not really advised because this is more for holding the blade securely in place than for doing traditional kinds of sword tricks and drawing techniques. Some absolutely beautiful pipes, some over 80 years old. Damn! Now I really want to see these pipes. Look at Armored Sweatpants. He coming into my live stream bragging about all the dope ass shit he's got. Dope ass. It's funny. Now, in terms of the best kind of finish to have with this kind of belt, if you do want to do fire shit, is an Ishime lacquer. As you can see, it works. Haha, caught you, you bastard. It works with multiple blades. I'm probably going to get shit for this at some point, but it can be used with European swords too. I got this at my local Menards. It's about, I think, $8. And yes, it even holds this bastard in its place. Relatively speaking, as long as I kind of balance it out here. If I put it all the way back here, it still holds it in place relatively nicely. And I can still somewhat speed draw it if I had to. I have wood. Okay, let's see here. I have wood pipe. I have one wood pipe me and my friend found at a yard sale, saying that sounds awesome, and someone chewed the tip all to hell. Fuck. Yeah, that's some fighting shit right there. You chewing my. If I myself chew my pipe to hell and back, that's one thing. But if someone else does it, that's some fighting shit right there. I vote for sweatpants pipe video. What is Menards, by the way? I'm from Philadelphia. I'm from Pennsylvania. Never heard of it before. I'll do some pipe shorts if you guys want. Most of my subs are from Jamaica, and I'm a hit with the coffee bean pickers. LOL. My high-speed deer belt has a Cobra buckle. It stays the same size and quick releases. Surprisingly, it wasn't great for pistols. There. Menards is a home improvement store, and if you're from Pennsylvania, you should have a Menards somewhere near you. Where Menards is pretty much all over the eastern half of the United States. And I must attend to something in the other room. I'll be right back. My grandma just texted me saying she wants water. I'm back and I snack some munchies. My laptop gets notifications in the corner since it's linked up to my phone. But these are from Menards too. I was going to say, you should have a Menards near you, Cone 1. Well, sorry. Dummy in my mouth. So, Menards is kind of what I like to call a redneck Walmart. We sell milk, eggs, butter, sour cream, cottage cheese, your standard dairy products. We sell pizzas. Sometimes we sell tubs of meat. Sometimes we sell bricks of bacon. We have all kinds of different groceries, and we're also a full-service hardware store in the sense that we have appliances, we have carpeting, we have paint, we have tools, we have gardening, we have lumber, we have drywall, installation, all kinds of shit. We're basically a one-stop shop for home improvement. Like I said, it's basically a redneck. If a redneck invented the concept of Walmart, limited groceries, a lot of material. I live in the land of Dollar Generals, Eastern North Carolina. I used to work at a Dollar General, DG up by me too. New Hampshire. I used to take the store displays and sell them. I bet corporate loved your ass tones one. It's like, can anyone explain to us why the fuck our uh, displays are popping up on eBay? We don't know. We don't know nothing. But, yep. So, with that in mind, my noble band of outlaws. Any last minute questions before I begin wrapping all this up? It's 9:07 where I am. We've been on for 2 hours, and I got a lot of shit to clean up. Do you have any pets? I had a dog who died back in 2020, I think. It was. His name was Buddy. He was part pit bull, part husky, part fucking wolf, part something else. And you would think he was the most savage beast on the planet. No. That dog had one brain cell for his entire daily functions. He had the brain of a cabbage. He thought he was a 100-pound lap dog. You sit down. In your lap he went with this adorable little panting thing that he did. I wish I could have caught you earlier. Unfortunately, I'm a second shifter. Oh, Uncle Ninja, I know that pain all too well of doing the night shift. This was a great live stream, Outlaw. Thanks for hosting. You did a great job. No problem, Armored Sweatpants. Y'all missed Geekopedia earlier, but again, thanks for showing up, my noble band of outlaws. I myself have 3 planted fish tanks and a German Shepherd mix. Aw, you have the German puppy. But in any case, thank you, my noble band of outlaws, and look forward to the next episode, the next time I go live, which is hopefully going to be soon. I'm going to start doing, like I was before, bi-weekly Mondays. Every other Monday I'll go live. And hopefully we can get to episode 100 of the Outlaw Samurai Show by the end of the year. That's going to kind of be my goal. So, until next time, I'm out. Peace. See y'all.